Boom, and we're live. Welcome back. Another episode of the Power Talks podcast. Today we're joined with Nathan Crane, a holistic health practitioner and a meditation teacher. We're excited to have you on, man. What's up?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. So, quick little question. So, I've been doing the meditation practice for a little over 10 years now, and it's been a huge part of my life. How would you say meditation has guided you to where you are today? And what are some of the things that you why do you teach it?
Yeah, it's awesome that you've been practicing meditation for 10 years because it's a game changer, isn't it? I mean, let me ask you, how's it helped you in your own life?
Well, first things first, I was always a very anxious kid, and I started meditation because of swimming. Our coaches always preached that we couldn't visualize our race. We couldn't go into race day with a calm demeanor. So it started in a place of sports, and then it eventually went to a place of self-discovery, where in COVID, I figured out a lot of things that were questions in my mind that now are led towards a path. So I would say it's been amazing for me.
So many benefits, right? I mean, I think there's over 100 documented benefits of meditation so far scientifically. Plus, it's been a part of our ancient cultures for thousands and thousands of years. And I think human beings just realize that if we want to be happier, we want to have less stress, we want to feel better, we want to sleep better, we want to have a stronger connection with the divine, with God, we want to have a stronger sense of self and what we're here to do on the planet, that meditation is the answer, it's the key. Just to your point, for athletics and sports alone, it's amazing. Like if that's all you use it for, helps with clarity. The more clarity you have, the better athlete you are, right? Helps with recovery. Faster you recover, the better athlete you are. Helps with sleep. Better sleep you have, the faster you recover, the better athlete you are. Helps with the immune system. The more that we can fight off viruses, pathogens, have less days off of our training, recover better, faster, right? All these benefits. But, for me personally, I got into meditation because I was sick and nearly dead at 17 years old. And one of my best friend's families took me in and I lived with them. And one of his father, Dennis Davis, was big time meditator, big time spiritual human being. And his mom was like this saintly woman. And they took me in and helped me get off the streets. And we would talk about meditation and we'd talk about spiritual philosophy and all kinds of topics. And it just started to activate something deep within me that I felt was dormant. And from that moment forward, I left Montana, I moved to San Diego. I really started my life over at 18 years old. This was 2005. And since then, I got very serious about being healthy, about spiritual discovery, about understanding who I am and why I'm here on the planet and what I'm here to do, and asking all these big questions that I think a lot of people don't start asking till maybe their 30s if they're lucky, but usually not till much later in life, right? It's like, who am I? Who are you really? What are you? Where are you from? Where are you going when you die? What are you really here to do on the planet? Just make money, have sex, have some kids, and retire and grow old and die? Like, I don't think so. Like those answers were not good enough for me. I knew there was something much deeper. I knew there was a much deeper, mystical, spiritual explanation for why I came to this planet. And so I started to ask those questions really early. Dennis and his family kind of helped spark that in me, and then it just took off from there. I had a great spiritual mentor come into my life in San Diego. I was with him 4 or 5 years, from about 19 years old till early 20s, and I started practicing meditation. I started spending a lot of time with Buddhist monks and Buddhist masters in the monasteries in Escondido, and reading spiritual books and textbooks. And I just know the more that I meditated, the more that I spent diving into spiritual discussion and spiritual learning and spending time inside myself and asking these questions, and I would get answers, right? You ask questions, you get answers. Or I would visualize things, and then those things would happen, or I'd have a thought of something, and then that person would call me, and it's like these more and more and more of these kind of mystical experiences would continue to happen. It would just affirm and confirm all the things that I was learning and hearing and experiencing. And so I'd say meditation had become early on an essential part of my life, and overcoming so many addictions that I had and becoming a new person, a completely different person. I mean, I'm 5 people different today than I was 20 years ago. And a big part of that is this, spiritual journey and meditation and breath work and pranayama, and studying all these different traditions that I've studied over the years with Buddhists and Native Americans and yogis and Hare Krishnas, and even Christianity. I'm a big, I'd say, researcher of the Bible and of the New Testament and of Jesus's teachings, and really understanding what he meant by his teachings. And I think there's so much beauty there, and there's so much beauty in these great spiritual traditions that are showing us the way to our higher purpose here on the planet. And we get caught up in the day-to-day, the mundane, the stresses, the anxieties of the world, the fears, the cravings, the aversions. And then we forget about this whole bigger picture of why we're actually here. And then we suffer, right? We suffer in misery. I mean, look how many people in their 20s and 30s are just not happy. They're not happy. They're chasing money. They're chasing their dreams. They're chasing women. They're chasing the next high. And if you talk to them, they're not happy. They're struggling. They're stressed. They're anxious. People are getting on more and more meds, younger and younger. Like, these things are not normal. They're not natural. We've normalized it. Being unhealthy, we've normalized. Being depressed and sick and anxious, we've normalized. We've normalized just taking a pill for every ailment. But that doesn't mean that's our best state and our natural state. And in fact, our best state and our natural state is healthy, is happy, is vibrant, is feeling good in our own skin, having a sense of purpose and meaning and direction in our lives. And, that's, as I've learned that over the years and transformed my own life, then obviously I realized, look, this life actually is not about me at all. This life is about, what can I do to help other people? What can I do to serve others? What can I do to give back? What can I do to help other people get out of addictions and traumas and negative subconscious beliefs, and become healthier and happier and live more vibrantly? And when I say happy, it doesn't mean you're just running around smiling, laughing all day long, even though that can be part of your life for sure, but more peace in your life, more contentment, more just a sense of like being okay. I mean, imagine how different of a life it would be for you if you just felt okay most of the time, like, yeah, I'm okay by myself. I'm okay hanging out. I'm okay. Like we were talking, go to the coffee shop and work for a couple hours. I'm okay doing that. I'm okay being by myself. I'm okay. I can go to the beach and jump in the ocean for a bit. I'm just peaceful and content and happy majority of the time, because the truth is, and this is what all the great ancient teachers teach, is that is your nature. Our nature is love. Our nature is happiness. Our nature is to be peaceful and content. And look at a baby, look at a newborn child, right? Like, that just shows you right there. You look at a 2-year-old, and their nature is joy, love, creativity, happiness, spontaneity. Yeah, they fall, they get hurt, they get hungry, they cry for a bit, and then they let it go, they move on, they forgot about it, and now they're happy and joyful and creative and spontaneous again. So it just shows you, we all were born with that, and then it gets conditioned out of us, right? You're told to mature, to grow up, to stop acting like a kid, and then we get traumatized and brutalized and negative subconscious beliefs and all this bullshit that gets pushed onto us. And we get wrapped in all these layers of other people's and society's demands and opinions on us that actually covers this shell. We get this shell, this protective layering around us that dims our light, right? That dims that love and happiness within. And so the whole spiritual journey is actually just peeling away that shell, breaking through it, cutting through those layers, so that the truth of who you are can really start to shine through.
So Nathan, you said something very interesting. You said something very interesting right there. You said that your practice woke up something in you that was dormant. For you specifically, what was that? what was that thing that was awakened in your practice?
A deeper sense of myself, my higher self, connecting to my soul, realizing that I'm not just a human in a human body with material desires and carnal desires and pleasures and all of this, that there was something actually much deeper, that's infinite, that's expansive, that's connected with the divine, something that has a higher intelligence, a higher consciousness, something that I actually had experience. I remember experiences of this when I was a kid, laying out on the trampoline. We'd have like sleepovers at my house in Montana, Bozeman, Montana, Belgrade, Montana. We'd have friends come over, or my brothers, and we'd sleep on the tramp under the stars in the summertime. And I remember as a kid, I mean, 9, 10 years old, laying there under the stars, like looking up and just in total awe of just this infinite, expansive, beautiful, mystical universe all around me. And, you know, the great ancient teachers talk about that feeling. Anytime you can feel that sense of awe and wonder, and Gurudev, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar talks about this, the more that you can feel that, the more you start tapping into that higher aspect of yourself, your soul, the divine of God, because we can't really understand what the divine is with our mind. And no matter what words we use, you know, we'll never fully be able to explain it. The divine is it's a feeling. It's something that you start to experience the more that you tap into it. And yeah, you could say it's bliss. It's just infinite pure awareness. It is absolute knowingness, pure consciousness, all these terms, but none of it really does justice until you start experiencing it. And one of the ways that you can experience that, you can taste it, is when you're in that sense of awe and wonder. Like just sitting out, I was swimming out in the ocean the other night at sunset, and I was just sitting out in the ocean and just in total bliss, watching the sunset and just total awe and wonder, not trying to judge it, not trying to even say, oh, that's a beautiful sunset, look at the rays, and because then you get the mind involved, right? And the mind is a tool of the soul. The mind is one of my early teachers, Arturo Gaitan, he says, the mind is the thinking system of the soul, the brain is the thinking system of the human, right? Or being. We're a human being, right? Human is the material part, the physical part. The being is the spiritual part, the soul. And so they both have thinking systems. It's one way to look at it. But the mind, most people's minds are like freaking wild, rabid monkeys running around all over the place, right? Jumping from the future to the past, worrying about what's yet to come, which almost never comes, and concerned about or regretting what already happened, which is already gone. There's nothing to do about it anyway. But because we don't learn how to control this monkey mind, most people were never taught how to do that. I certainly wasn't taught as a kid. Then we aren't even aware that our mind is running and many times ruining our lives, directing the show. But it's like giving a kid who's 12 years old a pint of vodka and then give him the keys to your car and say, go have fun. You know, that's like most people's minds, right? Just totally out of control and all over the place. And the moment you can glimpse that you are not your mind and you are not your thoughts and you are something actually beyond that, then your whole life starts to change, because now you go, I am something infinite beyond what I'm experiencing right now. You become what's called the seer, and you recognize that you are not the scene, you are not the scenery, you are the seer. And you know that you are a seer, because how can you actually watch your own thoughts? Who's watching the thoughts? That's the question to ask, right? So you start to get into that pilot position, and from there, everything in life becomes so much more, exciting and mystical and incredible.
So one quick question. This is something that I found during my journey of the meditation is, what are the cues that you feel that tell you you're in it, that tell you you're in that spiritual awareness?
So meditation is very interesting, right? Because there's so many forms of meditation. What kind of meditation do you do?
I do a few different ones. I like the walking meditation every once in a while. I do a body scan. That's mainly for recovery. I'm huge into nervous system and how our nervous system can actually heal our bodies and how we could direct energy into certain parts of the body to start that healing process, make it a little bit quicker. But the main one is I sit in this contemplative state and I will allow my brain to run for a little bit, find one question that really interests me. Like there's gonna be one thought that goes along where it's like that's the one. And then I stop and I start breathing. And then there's a fire in my chest. There's a fire in my chest where it feels like this light is expanding, expanding, expanding. And that's when I know I'm in it. That's when I know I'm in it. And that one's mainly, I call that one a consciousness meditation. I don't know if that's the right word. I don't know if it's the
Yeah, yeah.
proper
Yeah, it's
terminology.
very, yeah, it's contemplative meditation. So, which is a beautiful form of meditation. All of those that you talked, walking meditation, body scan, yoga nidra, it's basically a body scan, so healing, so rejuvenating. What you're doing there, contemplative meditation, they're all good and they all have their purposes and benefits. See, most people that I talk to, I say, do you meditate? And they go, oh no, I tried, I can't do it. And I have to chuckle a little bit inside because there's no such thing as I can't meditate. Every single person meditates in their life many, many times. If you've ever sat and watched a fire and you kind of just get lost in the fire, that's meditation, right? Campfire, or fire in a backyard or whatever. If you sit and watch the ocean for a while and your thoughts kind of just run like you're saying, they kind of start to become fluid. That's meditation. The definition of meditation in the Yoga Sutras from Patanjali is the mind runs smoothly. It's like basically the mind, instead of jumping all over the place for 1,000 different thoughts all the time, instead of like raindrops just dropping everywhere and lightning storms everywhere, all of a sudden it all comes together in a smooth flowing stream. And that's meditation. And so meditation is not shutting off all my thoughts, or it's not stamping down my thoughts or any of that. Meditation is actually allowing the mind to come into harmony with the soul. And then thoughts, what happens is you have things called impressions. You have things called, these are like subconscious beliefs. These are ideas. These are samskaras, they're called. These are past karmas, actions, different thoughts. And these will actually come up during meditation. And we think, oh, I have to suppress it. Anything you suppress, right? Anything you push against actually comes back at you. So you never want to suppress these things. All you want to do is observe. The most important thing in meditation is observation. That's number one, is just sit quietly, close your eyes, observe your breath, and start to calm down your system. And then you get into that parasympathetic state, which is healing, as you talked about, rest and digest, rejuvenation. And in that state, as thoughts come, you just observe them without judgment. Let it come and let it go. Let it come and let it go. And what's happening is you are detoxing your mind. These are like toxins coming up and leaving. Toxins come, just like the body. We water fast, or we take chlorella or spirulina or charcoal. We take detoxifiers to remove toxins from the body. This is what meditation is doing. It's removing toxins from the mind, because the mind is actually outside the body. The mind is this, and we can measure this now scientifically, but the yogis have known this for thousands of years, that the mind is outside of the body. And it's not the brain. The brain and the mind are actually two totally separate things. The brain is just the hard drive, right? It's just where information goes into and then gets sent throughout the rest of the body. And so what we're doing is, and the mind stores all of this stuff. This is why scientists can't find any thoughts actually stored in the brain, because they're not stored in the brain. It's stored in the mind and in the whole universe, the hard drive of the universe. So we're allowing these thoughts to come and release, come, release, come, release. And the more you do it and the more practice you have, the deeper you start going into those, I'd say, mystical states that you're talking about, where you start to become expansive and you start to feel yourself expanding to the entire universe sometimes. And you get into, eventually, with enough practice, you get into a state, and the whole art of meditation is learning to let go. It's not trying to create anything, actually. When you're using meditation for visualization, that's technically just like, I would just say manifestation, right? Like you're visualizing something you desire, you want to create. You're really just visualizing for manifestation. It's kind of meditation, but it's not really. You're still using your mind to create something. Real meditation is actually letting go and not doing anything. And so there are practices that help us get to that state. Pranayama is one of them. Breath work is so, so powerful and so helpful. My favorite breath work I do is called sky breath, S-K-Y, sky breath. It's so helpful to get you into a deeper state of meditation. But eventually, with enough experience and practice, beyond meditation, as Patanjali talks about, then comes samadhi. And there are multiple states of samadhi. And in some of these states of samadhi, you start to feel like you are one with everything. You start to feel like your body's not even there. You start to feel this sense of bliss and absolute just peace and contentment and happiness. You start to feel many, many things that you'll experience with practice. Like that's like another, and multiple levels beyond that, even levels I haven't touched or gotten to yet, that great gurus and wisdom keepers and sages talk about and write about, and basically and talk about enlightenment and these kinds of things. There's multiple layers and levels beyond even where I'm at, and yet all it takes is committing to a daily practice and doing it every day. And what you see is that the benefits are substantial in your life, right? Like things just seem to go better in every area of your life when you're meditating on a regular basis. Have you seen that?
100%. Yeah, I mean, that some of the stuff you're talking about reminds me a little bit about this book, Joe Dispenza, Becoming Supernatural. So I've read some of his books. I love reading about all this stuff. And you were talking about that aura, the aura around the body, and something that he talks about in the book is like the manifestation, yes, but also the ability to go into the body and kind of like do your own surgeries. Yeah, like I the way I interpreted it was little surgeries, and you're using the energy from that field and you're directing it in, and then you're kind of allowing the energy to do its little surgery on the body, fix little things, create through manifestation. And then that aura, you're walking around with that aura, and it's what you manifest, what you think is where that energy it holds. So it's like you were saying, if things just end up falling into place, if you have negative thoughts, your aura is negative, you find the negative, you seek the negative. If you have positive thoughts, you seek the positive, you enter the positive, you allow the positive to come to you. So
100%.
that's really interesting.
Yeah, one of the concepts that came to me really early on when I was studying with Arturo was that we are basically large walking magnets. That's what we are. We walk around and we're just attracting what we are. We're not attracting what we want, we're attracting what we are, right? And that's why you get into these relationships or these experiences or these things, and you just see this mirror of yourself. And sometimes, once you recognize that, and then you work on that, and then sometimes you're in a relationship, it could be a friendship, business partnership, marriage, whatever, and you see that mirror and you heal those things, you transform those things, and then it's no longer a mirror. You just realize, wow, that's no longer meant to be a part of my life anymore. It's time for me to move on. And that's why many relationships actually end, is people grow apart, right? You realize, okay, it's time. But if you didn't do that work and you didn't recognize that in yourself and you weren't healing those things in yourself, and you go out and get another relationship, you're just going to attract the exact same thing, which so many people have that experience. Go, why did I just get in a relationship with somebody else who seems so different than the last person, but they have all the same shit? Well, it's because that's your shit that needs to be worked on and understood and let go of and accepted and transformed. And, what you were talking about, Joe Dispenza, yeah, that comes from Qigong. It comes from ancient China and also from ancient India, is how to direct our energy to heal the body. I did a few documentaries. These are on YouTube for a Qigong master who I studied with for about 4 or 5 years in Santa Fe, New Mexico. His name's Ming Tong Gu, Master Ming Tong Gu. And there's so many incredible healing stories of people who just started doing Qigong every day. They went to his retreats, they learned how to do it, and then they started doing it multiple times a day at home. One woman, Bianca Mollet, her documentary is so inspiring, it's on YouTube, completely reversed Parkinson's disease using Qigong, using energy healing, like you're talking about what Joe talks about. This is ancient science. These guys that figured this stuff out thousands of years ago, they were scientists. They discovered, wow, we have these energy centers in our body and we have this energy field around us, and we can, the more that we clean it and cleanse it and purify it with breath work and meditation and energy movement practices, the more powerful your magnet becomes. But when it's clouded, when your whole aura, when your whole system is clouded and it's negative and it's scattered, then your magnet's very weak, actually. Which is why the cleaner and more like purified that you become in that way and practice these practices, the yamas, the niyamas, which are basically philosophies for living a good life, then the more powerful your magnet becomes. And all of a sudden you think of something and it's right there. Oh, I need this. And the person shows up. Oh yeah, I want to do this kind of event. And all of a sudden I need a new director of operations. And I had 2 people calling me within 2 days. Amazing people, like exactly what I'm looking for, you know? Like that kind of stuff starts to happen all the time. The more that we do these practices, the more we clean, and then your ability to heal yourself or heal others also increases. You know, I had a lot of experiences of that as I was working with energy over the years of, I helped heal this woman who had a stroke and was paralyzed, and an hour later she was walking. And I had no idea, like this is one of the first experiences I had with being able to direct energy to use it to heal others. And I don't do that as like a profession or a practice or things like that. I've had a few of those experiences to show me like, yeah, this is something we all have. We all are made of energy. Quantum scientists know this, right? Everything is wave function. Everything is just all connected through the singularity. There is no duality. It's only in the ego. It's only in the mind. And every thought you have is connected everywhere instantly in the entire universe. And every cell that we have, every atom is connected to every other atom in the entire universe instantly. We've done a lot of experiments to prove this. And so, again, I always go back and go, man, our ancient ancestors from India, from China, the yogis, the rishis, they knew all this stuff, and they have the practices to show us how to awaken this within ourselves. But we get caught up in these ideas of like, money, fame, power, greed, and ego, and live these lives that are so unfulfilling because we've missed the whole point of why we've come here, to be these incredibly dynamic and grateful and powerful and supportive and healing and uplifting human beings.
100%. So one thing I've noticed in your Instagram, I've seen you reading the Red Book. And I've seen you reading the Red Book, and I wanna dive a little bit into what your experience is with your dreams and how do you interpret them? Do you allow yourself to contemplate through a journaling experience? Do you allow yourself to contemplate through a meditative experience? And what have you found your dreams tell you?
That's such a good question. So all right, can I tell you a story?
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, come on.
So I was in Ocean Beach, California around probably 2007, 2008, and I got interested in dream interpretation, and then all of a sudden I was surrounded by it instantly. I was like surrounded by like 3 master dream interpreters and learning from them every day. And I stayed at one of their house. I was kind of bouncing around a bit. I was still kind of figuring things out. I ended up homeless for a little bit, living out of my car, couch surfing a bit, and kind of figuring out life and what I was going to do next. And I ended up on his couch for a little while. And so I'm learning about dreams. And one of the things he told me was, okay, before bed, as you're laying there, let's say you have a question about something. You can write that question down, or you can just talk to your inner self, your higher self, and say, show me in a dream tonight the answer to this question. And when I wake up, let me remember it. And so I did that night. And I had one of the craziest dreams I've ever had in my life. And I'm sharing this story to share that I've discovered dreams have multiple different types of dreams. So you have to also determine what each type of dream is. This particular dream was so fascinating because in that dream, this woman I'd never seen before came up to me. I was like getting in my car or something. There was some weird thing we were doing in the street. She came to me, I saw her, and I was like, she was so unique and so different and so clear. Like I could see her as if I knew her, but I knew for a fact I'd never met her before in my life. And then she gave me something, and then everything felt better, and then I woke up. It was like, what the heck was that? I was like, okay. And so one of the other things he told me is if you have a dream and you can't really figure out what it means, you can ask again your higher self, show me more throughout the day what that dream is about. And so I did that. And then I ended up just kind of intuitively, I'm going to go walk down through the kind of main street and go to the beach and just go sit on the beach for a little bit, meditate, relax. And so I'm walking down there, I'm walking by all these restaurants, and all of a sudden somebody comes out next to me, walks out of this restaurant and ends up at my right side, and we're walking straight towards the beach together. And I didn't look at this person, I just was like, didn't think much of it. But we go almost 2 blocks, and she's still right next to me, stride for stride. And I was like, this is weird. I was like, this just seems strange. And so we're walking, and all of a sudden, I'm like, I wonder who this is. I looked over, and it was the woman from my dream. It was the exact same lady, face by face, the exact same lady. And I kind of tripped out a little bit. So I keep walking, and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, what do? I tell her, hey, you were in my dream last night, right? Yeah, she's going to believe that. Right? And so I walked to the beach, and she walked with me all the way to the beach, to the exact same spot, and we sat within 10 feet of each other. And I was like, all right, this is crazy. I thought, you know what? I got to tell her something. So I did. I said, I got to tell you something so crazy. I'm not hitting on you, I promise. This really happened. You were in my dream last night. And she didn't say anything. She just like looked at me and kind of nodded. And then she reached in her bag and she handed me a book. And then she walked away. I was like, what the heck? And I looked at the book, and it was a book about dreams from Sigmund Freud. And It just blew my mind. I thought, wow, this stuff is real, okay? Because, you start going down some of these rabbit holes, and I think having a healthy level of skepticism is great. You should have some skepticism. It's healthy to be skeptic. It's not healthy to be cynical. So I was skeptical, and then here she is, right? The same woman from my dream who gave me something in the dream, and I woke up. I see her on the street. I say hi to her, you're in my dream, and she gives me a book about dreams and then disappears. I never saw her again. And so I read some pages from that, and then I put it down. I got exactly what I needed. And so that was my first experience of a dream that actually comes true in real life, which I have found, right, premonitions, which I have found are unbelievably rare. Most people think their dreams are all premonitions. Oh my God, my grandma died. Is she going to die? I found 99.9% of dreams are not premonitions, at least in my case, and most people I talk to that I've done dream interpretation with as well. But that is one form. It can happen. Most of the dreams, and so I studied something called dream work with David Dibble for a few years, which was so powerful. It's a way to interpret your dreams based on you. And that's why dream books and dream interpretation and things like that really don't work, because they're not based on the individual. They're based on big generalist ideas like, oh, a dove must mean something spiritual. Yeah, but if you were shit on by a dove when you were a kid and you hate doves and doves are not your friends and you're traumatized by a dove even to this day, and a dove comes in your dream, that dove probably does not mean something spiritual to you. And right. Most everybody in your dream is actually a version of yourself, a version of your own mind. And we think those people are actually other people. No, those people are you. And so when you learn to recognize what this person is showing as your mind, what this person is showing you is your mind, what this person shows is your mind, which in dream work, they talk about four types of your mind, four parts of your mind is masculine mind, feminine mind, spiritual mind, and authoritarian mind. Those are the 4 parts. So you figure out which character represents which part of your own mind. And then almost always, if you remember your dreams, you'll remember there's something challenging, negative, fearful, weird going on. And then you have a turning point, right? You have something that happens that then everything gets better. Something smooth happens, it's some weird, some interesting little thing, and then the whole dream shifts. If you're having one of those dreams, what I found is those dreams are the ones that are very clearly your soul trying to tell you something about yourself, about your life. And it's almost always metaphor, it's almost always parable, it's almost always, because think about it, you're in this deep subconscious place when you're in dreams. And so your soul's speaking to you in the only way it knows how, which is through metaphors, through images, through feelings. And so the masculine mind may be somebody like a male figure in your dream, and it's saying, and it's doing something to the feminine mind, or vice versa, and there's a woman in your dream and it does something, and then everything changes for the better. And you look at that and go, oh, so my feminine mind is telling my masculine mind, this is what I need to do. I need to be more compassionate, for example, when these things happen. And then when you interpret it, it's unbelievable how clear and precise it is. But it's challenging to do that. You have to go through a lot of training to like really understand it. And then not all dreams are like that. There's different types of dreams. So unless you're very, I guess all that to say, unless you're like so deeply interested in understanding your dreams, it's not worth dabbling with it, because you will totally misinterpret things all the time. So you either want to go really deep and learn from some true masters on interpreting dreams and really understand it, or not worry about it and just get that information in meditation or other ways. I found I can get the answers to all my questions. Like you were saying, you go into a contemplative, same thing. I can go into a contemplative meditation and get answers to any challenge or any dilemma or any question that I have. It's the same thing. You're getting that connection. Every time you get deeper into meditation, you're connecting with yourself, with your higher self. And so any question you ask in that state, again, it can be polluted by your own mind and your subconscious mind. That's why cleaning ourselves is so important. Cleaning our minds, detoxing our minds is so important. That way the information we get is from that deeper, more precise state. And you know it is because you take action on it and then everything works out for the better. Or you take action and then things fall apart. You're like, all right, that was from my ego, you know? So it's happened to me. It's happened to me where things, I thought I got the right answer and it was definitely from my ego. And thankfully though, I stayed open and kept asking and got the right answer at the right time. I would have made a very terrible mistake, which would have been fine. It just would have made life way more challenging. But because I was still open, asking for guidance, even from my teachers around me and, you know, wisdom keepers. That's why having a spiritual teacher is so essential on this path, because it's like how, you know, you guys do sports, right? Like you would never go and train to be a professional basketball athlete without a professional coach. You would never go train to be a, you know, professional, you do jujitsu, right? You'd never go train to jujitsu without a coach who knows what they're doing. You know, doing this stuff on your own is so challenging, and you're going to run into so many viper pits that's why you need a true like teacher to guide you along the way.
So how does someone make sure that they're discerning the dreams or any other and anything else that's happening in their lives kind of from the divine, you would call it? How do they discern it properly? Because if you have different thought systems and schools of thought, you know, everybody could perceive something differently. So how do you go about getting that proper discernment of what is happening in your life?
What's the verse from the Bible? You shall know them by their fruits. That's it.
So go deeper on that.
Yeah, what does your results look like?
Okay.
You know, the results in your life are indicative of, are you living in harmony with the divine, with your higher self? I mean, are you attracting people, experiences, situations, results that are fruitful, that are beneficial, that are holistic, that are supportive? Or are you constantly seeing things being, you know, taken advantage of, or stolen, or greed, or all these things? I mean, there's two sides of that, though. We have our own karma from this life, and if you believe in past lives, we have it from past lives as well. But certainly this life, no matter what, because we know the law of reciprocity. I mean, the universe, this is one of the basic laws, fundamental laws of the universe, is that whatever energy you put out, it comes back to you one way or another, right? That is the law of karma. So whatever action you take, whatever thoughts you have, eventually it's going to come back to you. And it's going to come back to you in the same way or a similar way or a different way, but that energy has to come back. Now, there are things we can do to mitigate that energy. There are things we can do to turn it down, to cut it off completely, to burn those seeds of karma. And that's what spiritual practice is. That's what having a true teacher in your life does. That's what, you know, pranayama and meditation, all these things do. They help lessen the load of that karma. But what you'll see is that life never gives you anything that you can't handle, no matter how challenging. So no matter what comes your way, you still have the capacity within you to handle that, to manage it, to deal with it, to transform it. But you know that you're on the right path when you're trying to do good things, you're thinking about good things, you're intentionally trying to be of benefit to others. You take action, positive action in that direction, and then some positive things happen, right? You know you're in the right direction. Now, not everything's going to be perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have past karma. We're going to have all these things. So it's not always going to be perfect. You're not always going to have like the perfect, you know, 10,000 cherries on a cherry tree where every cherry is like so perfect. Some are going to get eaten by the birds. Some are going to get, you know, eaten by the worms. Some are not going to get enough sunlight. They're going to be too dry. So that's going to happen. But the majority of those cherries are like, oh, so sweet, so good, so perfect. And what I found in my own life anyway is that the more that I practice these spiritual practices, the more that cherry tree, the fruits of that tree have more of those beautiful, delicious, ripe cherries.
100%.
And
100%.
the more that I'm equipped when it's not that way, the more I'm equipped to deal with it, to be okay with it, to let it go, to move on from it, to not let it affect me, to go, oh, that didn't work out. Okay, fine. What can I learn from that? How can I improve? And what do I need to do to make it better? You know, I teach something, I'm writing about it. I know we only have a few minutes left, but I'm writing about it in my next book, which is called SOM, Solution-Oriented Mindset. And there's principles to having a SOM, to having a solution-oriented mindset. And one of those, the first principle I'll share with you, we can talk a little bit about, and this has been just an absolute game changer in my own life and business and career and family and everything, is every problem or challenge that you encounter has a solution. And if you can approach life with that simple, basic principle, no matter what challenge I face, no matter what problem, there is a solution. And you start to notice that anytime your mind is looking at the problem and thinking, oh, I can't do this, or I don't have enough money, or I'm not strong enough, or I don't have enough skill, or any time that the excuses come up and you can catch that and go, no, there's a solution. There is a solution. Every problem, every challenge. This crazy guy, Nathan Crane, said there's a solution for every problem, every challenge. So I'm going to just try and see if that's true for myself, right? And if you just start thinking that way, it's amazing how many doors open up for you. The simple thing, I give an example, like you're at the DMV, or here in Florida, it's called the tax collector, which is so strange. Everywhere else in the world, everywhere else I've ever lived is Department of Motor Vehicles or Vehicle Motor Division or whatever. And anyway, so you're there and like the woman's telling you, hey, you need your insurance to update your license. You're like, oh shit, my insurance card's expired, but I have insurance. And she's like, oh, too bad. And what do? Your mind either freaks out and, you know, either starts arguing or thinking, oh my God, there's a problem, and starts focusing on the problem and starts getting combative and things like that. Or you have a SOM, you have a solution-oriented mindset. You go, okay, I know there's a solution here. What can I do? And with a little bit of calmness, you need a calm mind, and a little bit of grace, you can always find a solution. You can always find a solution right there in that moment, almost always. Or sometimes it's just going to take a few extra minutes, and then you find the solution. But if you have a calm mind and you know that there's a solution for that, you will find it. And sometimes the solution is actually, this is the third principle actually, the solution is that, or the third principle is that not every problem or challenge is meant to be solved by you. So sometimes it's just letting go, Sometimes if you're constantly hitting your head against a wall trying to fix something, this happens in relationships a lot, I'm guilty of it. Trying to fix somebody, and it's not getting better. And in fact, over years, it's getting worse. Maybe the solution is actually just to let go. Maybe the solution is that it's not your problem to solve. And then that's so freeing. You become free. Your misery, your suffering in that moment goes away. And then you become more happy.
So to finish off real quick, what is one way for somebody that has never meditated, and because I receive this a lot. People always say, I can't meditate. I can never sit down and do it. So what is one very small piece of advice that you would give somebody in that situation?
Learn something like sky breath, Sudarshan Kriya, sky breath. There's over 100 studies on it. SKY, sky breath. And the reason being is because when you learn that whole ancient methodology of pranayama, what happens is it automatically takes you into a deep meditative state. You don't have to do anything. By the end of that process, you're in a deep meditation. Very deep, very powerful. So that would be, I'd say, number one option for people. And they teach these courses all over the world. There's 35,000 certified teachers. They've helped over 100 million people go through this course. It changes prisoners' lives in schools and business owners, entrepreneurs, celebrities, you name it. Sky Breath, that's been a big game changer in my life. I'm actually becoming a certified teacher through them as a volunteer right now because it's such a beautiful and powerful practice. So I'd say learn Sky Breath and do that. And number two, and then learn some form of a formal meditation practice, Sahaj meditation, mantra-based meditation. You can learn Vipassana as well, but Sky actually takes you to that deeper state instead of just focusing on your breath. You can get there so much deeper with something like a powerful breathwork practice, one that actually comes from, the true lineages, not just something that was made up by somebody like recently, I don't know what to say about that, but something that's proven, that isn't extreme. Like some breathworks are very extreme for most people. You don't need that, really. So anyway, learn something like that and then just commit to it. The other thing is, in the beginning, it's going to be like going to the gym for the first time. For the first 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, it's challenging, it's uncomfortable, you don't see great results, you have ups and downs. But the commitment to the practice every day, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks goes by, and your experience is getting better and better and better and better.
Awesome.
100%.
So cool, man. Nathan, we appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a super cool episode, man. I know there's a lot of value for the audience out there. So if someone wants to work with you and see what you have going on, where can we find you on the internet? And I know you have some books out there you could tell the people about as well.
Cool, man. No, I appreciate you guys having this conversation. It's awesome. And happy to get to know you a bit more and talk with you guys. So thanks for having me on. And yeah, people can follow me on Instagram. It's Nathan Crane Official, or YouTube. I've got a free meditation channel on YouTube where people can actually just go. So this is another thing people can do, is just put on their headphones and just listen to any of my guided meditations. And those are free at Meditation with Nathan. And they'll take you pretty deep into a meditation. I always implement some kind of breath work, maybe a little chanting. So you get a good combination of all these practices in one. And yeah, go to Meditation with Nathan YouTube, and then also on my website, you can join my newsletter And I send out all kinds of good stuff from there. So it's just my name, nathancrane.com.
Awesome, man.
Hey,
Thanks again for
so
coming
much,
on.
man.
Yeah, I feel like we could talk for another 2 hours. Maybe we'll do it again sometime. It was definitely a fun episode. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. We'd love to, guys. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Peace out,
Hey,
guys. See you
thank
next
so
Wednesday.
much, Nate.